I'm here in Brampton with actor, writer, director, and partner who also does all the same stuff. Are you acting?
I'm not an actor, no.
But he will be acting, yeah.
Okay.
I'm forcing him, yeah.
Okay. So I'm here with Rob Stewart. I don't know if you've seen this show before, Tropical Heat, but apparently it's this big cult thing going on in Serbia. We're going to get to that. This is like the most amazing story. And Marc Vespi?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, Rob, I want to say this is like the second time I've met you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first time I thought, okay, this guy's story is perhaps even, he may have crazier things happen to him than me, which is quite amazing. Actually, after I met you, it was the long weekend, and I went to go rent a video, right? But I didn't have my card, so I thought, okay, forget it. I'll just go see if there's something on TV, and if there's nothing on, I'll come back and rent something. So anyway, I haven't seen a movie in a long time for some reason. I go to the TV. I swear to God, the first movie that I found, I press info. It's Two of Hearts with Rob Stewart. I'm like,
on TV?
On TV.
Oh, you're okay. All right.
The first movie, and I'm like, okay, this is like really weird.
Because you'd never find a Rob Stewart movie otherwise,
Yes.
unless you had just met him.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I know you've done a lot of movies, but this is the kind of stuff that happens to me all the time, like weird stuff. So anyway, I thought, hey, this is really cool. There's Rob Stewart in the movie, and then you had a scene with Alan Thicke, who I just interviewed like last summer. Both of you are from Brampton.
Yep.
I'm going, this is like really freaky. And then on the radio, as I was coming home, I was listening to Andy Frost, who I've also interviewed, and I thought, this is really weird. So,
Is Andy Frost from Brampton?
No, he's not from Brampton, but I interviewed
So the whole
him.
story just falls apart.
I lost interest.
Buying a lapel mic and ripping it off.
So now tell me about this whole phenomenon of, tropical heat and how this came about, this project that you're going down to now film a documentary on.
Well, first of all, just to clarify, it was called Sweating Bullets here.
Okay,
So,
yeah. What was this AKA thing, and how does a show get an AKA?
I have no idea. And when they sold it in Europe, Sweating Bullets didn't translate. The idea that you're sweating bullets.
Yeah.
We started shooting in Mexico, and they were calling it sedando balas, which made no sense.
But it sounds really good.
Well, in English, it's a bit of a verbal play, but when you translate it to another language, it just starts to sound retarded.
Yeah.
So they had to change it because it didn't carry in different languages. Tropical heat translated well everywhere.
Okay.
So they used that in Europe, and then in Portugal it was calor tropical, in Mexico it was clima tropical. So they just changed the name wherever they went. But in Europe, the best known name there is Tropical Heat. Mm-hmm. So it was a show done on CBS in the early 90s.
Production?
Well, it was Canadian, Mexican.
But filmed in Mexico and Israel and
South Africa.
South Africa, yeah. That's an all right gig.
yeah, that was a great gig.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. So, and it did all right. It ran on CBS for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And it plays here even today on showcase and stuff. But it was a moderate success. It's not like I go out and get recognized anywhere on the streets.
Yeah.
So, this was 18 years ago, and I just went on and became a working actor. Bring my lunch bucket to work and say my lines. And then 3 months ago, my son got me on the film. No, 6 months. I keep saying 3 months.
It's about 6 months now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went on Facebook. My son got me onto it, and I just did a little search of Tropical Heat to see if it was, I knew it had been more successful in Europe than here.
Yeah.
And I found this Serbian website, and in what was Latin Serbian, but I saw little things like Presidente and this and that. I was like, what does that mean? So I wrote the administrator a little email, like, what's all this mean? And he wrote me back this amazing document, which we're actually going to put in the film, about the student protests in 96, 97, when the students in Serbia took to the streets to protest Milosevic and fraudulent elections. And their slogan was Nick Slaughter for president. Nick Slaughter's the character.
Yeah.
And then a Serbian punk band wrote a #1 hit, a band called Atheist Rap. They wrote a song called Nick Slaughter, Serbia Hails You. There was, on the walls in Belgrade. It was like every mother should be proud of a son like Nick Slaughter. It was just, it became, it transcended its own popularity. Somehow it meant something, as we still have to go and ask the question of how this happened. But it became something of a rallying cry of, like, it was a fairly ridiculous show. It's just a guy on a beach.
It's like a Magnum PI-ish kind of.
Yeah.
I've heard it described as a B version of that, but it was a little less responsible, a little less.
But because of the fact that it was really the only Western television show they were getting there at the time, you know, during the Milosevic reign, because the whole country was cut off from the West. There were actually economic sanctions put on it.
Yeah.
So this show was sort of their link to the West, and also a form of escapism during, you know, a really tough time. So that's the, you know, one guy I was in contact with yesterday sees Rob as an old friend from the war, you know, returning, coming home now. So, so that's the way they think of him, you know, like.
It was just that's the thing. They had civil war everywhere. People were dying everywhere. And there was genocide on all sides, and just a mess, and a restrictive regime. And you know, on whose behalf they had to go to war, and they didn't even want to. So they'd go home, they'd look at this, you know, ridiculous tropical island, beautiful women, the guy with his shirt open, solving a crime, whatever I did. And it was just a fantasy for them, you know. And now they associate it as this is when they're you know, young, and now they associate it with just sort of a comfort, like a security blanket.
So it must have been kind of a relief for them.
Yeah, that's what it was. Just escape, like Marc said, it's escapism.
It was a real counterpoint to, you know, the lightness of the show was a real counterpoint to the reality of their situation at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your first reaction to finding out you're this pulp hero?
I ran, Marc and I lived beside each other. I ran right out the door in the middle of winter in a housecoat, bellowed to the back of his kitchen, and he came running out in his housecoat, and I just told him the story. And he got very excited. And then I'm like, why are you excited? Because we're making a movie.
Because we're making a documentary. Let's do this.
I thought I was making a documentary. No, he's like, no, we're doing this. And thank God, too, because he's done like 90% of the work. So.
Now, who has the documentary skills? Do you have any prior background in this, or?
None of us have ever made a documentary.
No.
We've done, Marc and I have worked together before. We've done our own little shows that we've put together promos for and written and whatever, and never saw the light of day for whatever reason.
We've written some screenplays. Rob's done a lot of writing and directing, but as far as, I guess as far as documentaries go, Lisa would have the most
his sister has more experience.
Who's the third of our triumvirate here.
And what is she going to be responsible for?
She's the producer. She's the voice of reason. She's going to keep us from spinning out of control wildly in Serbia, and
it's going to be like so crazy.
I know, that's why she's there.
Is your wife going to actually do any work on it? She's a cinematographer.
She's a brilliant cinematographer, but I have a 13-year-old son, and we can't both do that. She's doing a movie now in Mexico City for Columbia Pictures, and she doesn't get back until. And they had the swine flu there, so she was shut down for 2 weeks. So she's not even getting back probably until the 20th or whatever. So we've got a film festival in Rome in July and all this, so she's going to have to be here with our son and man the ship, I think. I'd love to. I mean, we talked about having her do some stuff because she's brilliant, but we can't, unless I bring my son, I can't do it.
We're hoping, Rob mentioned the film festival in Rome. We've been accepted in a work in progress category.
With this?
Yes, with this project.
Cool.
So we've got a deadline of June 19th to have something cut together, 5 to 7 minutes of something to show. Oh, big time, But you know, we're hoping I mean, if possible, because Rob's wife Siliana is a wonderful cinematographer.
Yeah, she could come to Rome because we want to use the film festival also.
I'd like to shoot there as well.
Like the whole thing of the documentary is we can't really organize any form of narrative structure from here. They've told us that because the moment we have an angle, then politically someone's pissed off there. It's a very divisive country right now in terms of the politics. So and it would be a lot of hubris on our part to go there and think we know.
Or have any answers at all.
Yeah, so it's just questions. We're going to go there, we're going to just whatever, you know, they're setting up a bunch of bizarre events for us. We're going to be on stage with this punk band, all sorts of crazy stuff, meet some politicians, but all from an open-eyed, naive standpoint.